So hello gardeners, welcome back. My name is Jennifer Bevins, or as you guys might know me as True Gardener. We are back at my home today and I want to share some tips on how to create a garden on a budget. These are just a few quick tips that I've had to overcome over the last 25 years. So I thought, gosh, let me share them with you guys and hope that I can save you guys a bit of the stress and angst that I've been through in my beginning years of gardening. But do stay to the end because that last couple tips, they're humdingers. They're ones that I definitely want you guys to be around for. So the first tip I would say would be splitting your plants. If you guys aren't new to gardening or just starting to kind of create a palette for your backyard, get some clumping plants, plants that provide pups, plants that provide extra plants for the rest of your garden, especially if you're doing this in phases because it will pay for itself. Plants like the dwarf alocasias, I know I've mentioned this in previous videos because this plant actually, I have propagated it and pulled pups off of it, and it's been in so many different areas of my garden, and it's a fantastic plant to use. You can put it in the ground for about 6 months to a year. It starts to like recreate little pups along the edges of it. You can easily chop off those pups, put them right into water if you want, or put them right into the ground in other areas. And I'll get Bryce to post a few pictures of them in different areas of my garden. But you can do that with so many Florida plants that it's almost like there's just a huge selection of them. So like look up clumping plants for your area. That way you can determine, what's going to work for your particular space. And then maybe you can just kind of get free plants that can, like you can reuse amongst different areas of your garden, like the dwarf alocasias, like the aglaonemas, like the areca palms or the cat palms or your rhapis palms, things along those lines. This is one of my favorite budget-friendly things to do in a young garden. So those of you guys who know that you're going to be working in phases, it's ideal. Get some started in certain areas of your garden, knowing that you're going to take the babies and you're going to just make families all over the place. So it is a fantastic way to do it because plants are expensive. So if you spend $20 or $25 on one plant, 3-gallon plant grouping, now just do the math. You can take that particular plant and propagate and put him all through the yard. So it's well worth it. So start out with some nice propagating plants that create pups, and you have yourself a nice little instantaneous garden as they mature. So for the next tip would be statues in the garden. So I know I'm a landscape designer, but you guys, I love, 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 love the charm of statues in the garden. Having little key things that you can pick up here or there. Facebook Marketplace is my ideal way to go. I mean, I'm constantly telling clients to look at Facebook Marketplace because statues are constantly in there. So are water features. So if you're kind of on a budget and you're really kind of looking for specific areas, then it does not matter if you have to drive 30 or 40 miles to go get that perfect little water fountain to incorporate into your garden, because you're going to get it at like a teeny tiny percent of what it would be brand new. I have picked up so many things from Facebook Marketplace, including this little gal here. She's showcased in many of my videos. I call her the white lady because in the garden she looks bright and white at night as the light shines on her, and I just absolutely love the way she looks. But do not sleep on Facebook Marketplace or garage sales. Those are great ways just to get those perfect little trinkets, those perfect little things to incorporate into the gardens. And just to give you kind of an idea on some different ways that you can incorporate those things that you see online, and it's like, where can I put this or where can it add the most influence? I love where my white lady is. She is amongst a canopy of trees, kind of a backdrop to big leaves. So anytime you got a little bit of this going on, then kind of creating something that's just almost like enveloped, like it's really into this space, it does something to your eye when you're looking back out at the garden this way. It's like it's a place, you see all of this foliage, all of this different kind of leaf texture, and then your eye draws to this area. It's like a perfect place for your eye to rest. So, I can't remember what she ended up costing me when I first got her, but I know it wouldn't have been what I would have paid for off Wayfair or shipping or all that. So I love, love, love the idea that I've got like a little jewel in my garden. That was definitely a money saving tip. All right, you guys, so for the next tip is, I get this question like so often when you guys are shopping at a nursery and you're looking down a row of palms or a row of plants or a row of accents, whatever it is you're looking for your garden. You might see like different heights and different sizes for that same particular container size. For you gardeners who are out there, 3 gallons, 7 gallon, 15 gallons are all diameter sizes for a garden. And a lot of times you can see a row for one price, and one might be 5 foot taller than the other. One might be really stretched out in that pot. And so many of my clients, they always say, well, I got the biggest one in the crop. You know, it may have not been the prettiest, may have a little bit of yellowing. But I knew that it was just going to take off as soon as I put it in the ground. So that's not always the case. So when I'm shopping for my clients, when I'm shopping and I'm looking for things, I am looking at things like almost like you would pick up a Christmas tree. You know, you would turn it, you're looking at all sides, you're wanting to pick the best tree in the lot. That does not change when it comes to landscaping. You want to pick the perfect tree. I don't care if it's 3 foot taller or 3 foot shorter than the one right next to it that's exactly the same price, because I can tell the client, I picked the perfect quality. I picked the best tree that I can get a hold of for your particular spot. So when you shop for yourself, definitely find that the tree that looks appropriate in size, has good caliber to it, has a great widespread to it, has really good green color. It's maybe a little thicker and a little denser. It does not matter if it's way, way, way smaller. You want the best tree in that whole crop, because once you put that in the ground with good soil, then it will take off because it has everything that it needs to flourish. But I can totally understand how that can be confusing, because you guys, even all the years that I've been doing this, there's times that I'm like, well, maybe with a little bit of extra effort, this one would do this or this one would do that. But then I have to remind myself, that's not my job. My job is to find the best product for each of my clients, and not something they've got to rehab or you know, to hopefully that it establishes better. It doesn't get attacked by bugs its first week in the ground. I want something healthy and strong. So don't take that shortcut, as tempting as it is. Definitely pick the perfect tree for the perfect spot. So for my next tip would be grass or no grass, lawn or no lawn. And you guys know, if you have been here and seen several of my videos, that I do not have a lawn. My yard is pretty much a rock path that leads into all of my foliage, all of my garden. And many of my clients will be like, well, but we should kind of have a yard, right? Well, in some cases, if you have kids, then absolutely you need a big area for them to play or whatnot, then a yard is ideal. But for most of us, a nice little rock garden mixed in with maybe some boulders or some other interest, and then adding some layers and some landscaping to it, a rock path is ideal. And how it saves you money is the fact that you're not mowing, you're not edging, you're not fertilizing, you're not, you know, treating it constantly like I was treating mine for fungus and for whatnot, trying to keep it healthy. Because we kind of all know in Florida, we call it a yard, we call it grass, but it's more weeds than anything. So I got very tired of looking at that, and I was like, you know, I'm out with the yard, and I put in a rock path, and I have never looked back. The initial cost is there, absolutely, but now it's done, and I don't have to worry about maintaining this area. It's always clean, it's always crisp, and it always highlights the landscaping well. So for the next tips that I have for you guys, they're the ones that I'm really excited to share with you all. The next one, I would say ambiance, lighting, landscape lighting. Now, I get it, not everybody has a huge budget to put in spotlights and landscape lighting, especially if you're working on your garden in phases. That is something that should be done at the very end when you really have everything in place and you can see what you're working with. But if you could, you know, pick up some bistro lights, you know, like I have right here behind me. I did these years ago when this buffer first started, and I've been patching into my landscape buffer over the years. You guys all know this, but bistro lights along that rear side of the perimeter, whether it's on a fence line or it's on the back side of your plants and trees and you just see little spotlights through it, it is something just so magical. The bulbs are big enough to kind of give you a pretty good impact. That way you can see them for such a distance, but they're not over your head where they're like a spotlight on you rather than what you're trying to see and showcase. It just adds a little bit of whimsy to the garden, I really do think. I have smaller lights along my walkway because it is a much smaller space. So I have like the garland lights or the little twinkle lights. I have a bunch of lights on a strand. Wrap them through your side yard section, and it almost looks like fireflies in there. I love the way that looks. But in key areas where you guys might have a good bit of sun, solar lights are fantastic to work with. I have solar lights in key areas, and I have landscape lighting, but still the solar lights, I like that variation of different kind of lights. So in areas that I do not have any kind of electrical outlet or have landscape lighting, I've incorporated some key solar lights in those sections. But the ones that I really, really do like I have two posts right as you're coming along my side yard area, and I loved those post solar lights that I put on there. All I did is screw them into the columns, and voila, I've got lights right at the entranceway. They come on like clockwork, and I love the way they look. They've been in for a little over a year and a half now, and I just think that they're a fantastic choice. I'll be sure to list the lights that I do have that I purchased off Amazon in the description down below if you guys are interested. But adding a little bit of that just adds a different feel to your garden at night. There's something about your garden during the day, but at night when you see those little shadow effects to the agave structures or the areca palm leaves or the rhapis palm leaves, having that little bit of filtered shadow light through that, it just does something different to the garden. And so I say I appreciate that so much when I'm looking out through my garden and walking through it at night. So you guys, we're gonna knock out these last couple tips for you guys before we lose all the light in the evening. Sorry, we both have a full-time job, so these videos, we want to totally get them out for you guys every single week, but but we're losing the light, so I may be talking fast now. So the next tip I have for you guys is creating a plan for your space. So no matter how early you are into the landscape phase or how late you are, maybe you've got some establishment already going on, but you really want to take some time, draw out your house line, draw out your perimeter area, and then really kind of get a good idea of what you want to be garden, what you want to be rock or sod or grass, what you want to be overall water features, or maybe a sitting section for some pavers or a fire pit. Kind of really get some ideas of how you want to live in the space, how you want to make the most of the whole area. And you don't need to be an architect, you don't need to be a full-blown designer to kind of really have a general idea, but kind of mark out the house lines, the perimeter border, and then it really gives you a good idea to kind of decide where you're going, what the first step is for it. Because I'm telling you, if there is a money saving tip anywhere, it is knowing the direction that you're going in before you hit the nurseries, because that can take you down a crazy path. So so take a look at what steps you're going to. And when I'm working directly with my clients, and the very first thing that we do when we meet, I kind of ask them, you know, do you entertain much? Do you think you're going to be sitting out in this section? Do you like to have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine out with friends out in the garden or on a patio or somewhere outdoors that's kind of outside the house in a quiet little nook or quiet area? Do you need like a romantic courtyard? Are you looking to create a big seating section for a big family? You know, what are the things that you think that you're going to utilize and really use on a daily or weekend basis? It's going to really make it make sense. And then if there's specific sections that maybe you want to block out that pool your neighbor has across, or a AC unit that you're constantly looking at as soon as you walk out your back door, whatever those things are, make sure that those are highlighted in your garden design, because those are key things to really incorporate, because those are ultimately at the very end, they're super important. So if you can make those things beautiful and functional, then you have a fantastic garden outline for yourself. Those of you guys who need just more help with that, and you kind of want to help with a experienced landscape designer, then of course, your girl is happy to help. And then Bryce is also doing landscape designs. I do landscape design with my installation, and you guys know that the areas, I'll get Bryce to pop them up on the screen, of the areas that we do landscape designs and installations. But if you guys are DIYers, or you're looking to do it yourself, or you're looking to have it bid out with maybe a local contractor, then of course reach out to us and Bryce, and we'll be happy to kind of schedule a consultation and walk through. But these are all in-person meetings, and I think that makes it so nice. All right, so you guys, the last tip for today are weeds. Now, don't click off. I know weeds are one of those things that we're all fighting here from time to time, but in this particular instance, it is very important to identify the weeds in your garden, especially those of you guys who are just starting out. Maybe you have pretty much a blank canvas to work with. Maybe there's not much going on, but you've got pockets of weeds or overgrown things, or the terrible things that kind of fly into our yards, like the pepperberry trees and all the things that we deal with here. So if that's you, then take your time, identify if those weeds are going to be the aggressive ones, and address those weeds before you ever get started. Especially if you're lucky enough to think, hey, I'm going to create a privacy buffer over on the right side of my house, blocking this, whatever's going on over there. but there's a pocket of weeds that just kind of constantly encroach, even if it's just the areas in your grass, because weeds are not all created equal. You can have some that are incredibly aggressive where you're fighting them right off the bat and then fighting them through your garden the entire time you have your garden. Or there's some that obviously you can pretty much get rid of right from the start, and then you hot spot them and treat them as you go, and those are fairly easy to work with. But if you guys have the aggressive kind, and I have been through gardens where clients have started their landscaping and I'm coming in to dress it up or add to it, and they're fighting these weeds like crazy, and I'm like, honestly, the best thing to do is eliminate, pull everything out of this garden, put it into a temporary situation for right now, like a little holding area, and then attacking those weeds. And I think that's why it's one of the most important tips for this afternoon, because you guys, it can completely destroy a brand new landscaping. And the last thing that you want to do is spend thousands of dollars at a nursery to create this beautiful garden that you're incredibly happy with. And before it has a chance to really do its thing, really show up, the weeds have started to grow in and take hold. And you're constantly either out there on like a weekend warrior pulling those weeds, or you're spraying them nonstop, worrying that you're going to affect the plants that are currently there. What I'm going to say is probably very controversial, so some of you guys are not going to love it, but when I have a garden like that and I'm dealing with a new landscaping, the very first thing that I'm going to do is spray that area. Now I use Roundup. I know, again, it's controversial, but I do know that it gets into the root system of the weed and helps control that weed, helps kill it right down to the roots, because weeds are so, they just go viral. They go crazy. And if there are any of you guys who have any other suggestions that you've used it and it's worked well, it's just been like such a great way to go instead of Roundup, then please leave in the comments down below, because we are all searching for the perfect product to use in our gardens. But in my situation, I have used Roundup and I've killed the weeds, and I've done that over a period of time. So don't be in a hurry. You want to make sure that you kill the first round, the second round, the third round as things grow up, because seedlings pop up from those weeds. So you want to give yourself plenty of time to completely eradicate that area of weeds before you start planting in those beautiful plants and trees that you want to work with. Now, I have never had an issue where I put Roundup in, tilled the garden, added new soil, and brought in a brand new landscape, and that Roundup that we did previously affected those new plants. I've never had an issue with that. So I know that's going to be a question up here, but honestly, I think that that's going to be the best way to do it, because you're working again with a blank slate. Once you get those eradicated, then you're not dealing and fighting that through the first 5 years of a landscape, or worse, you're losing your plants and your trees because you cannot keep up the weeds, because weeds grow faster than plants. It's inevitable in our area. So I think that that's an ideal thing and a very important thing to think about before you start planting the very first plant. Get your area situated and cleaned and ready and prepped for your brand new beautiful garden. So all right, you true gardeners, so today is a wrap. We are losing light, so we are going to head on out of here. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If this is the kind of thing that you like, then please do not forget to like and subscribe and hit that little notification bell. These are videos that we put out every single weekend, and let us know if this is something that you guys like to see. I know I do garden tours and I do several different types of videos, but if you like tips and tricks, things that I have run across of my 25 years of being in business, then please let us know that, because we'd love to help. So we're looking ways to kind of help save time and money, because we all know gardening is expensive. So let us know if that's something you'd like to see more of, and we'd be absolutely happy to post it. For those of you guys who want more how-to or tip videos, then check out our previous video. Bryce and I did a question and answer video a couple weeks ago. I will get him to post it right over here. In that video, we address how to protect your plants from a freeze, mulch versus rock, and a couple other really helpful tips. So check that video out. I will see you guys in the very next video. I'll see you next weekend. Take care.